Welcome everyone. This is Doomsday Watch by Zero Plus. Doomsday Watch is the podcast to talk about Doomsday Clock, the saga that is being published by DC Comics in 12 editions, and we're gonna discuss issue by issue with you. So I recommend you read it because it's gonna be a little weird. And it's weird the fact that the first podcast by Zero Plus is a podcast about Doomsday, but that's okay. So Doomsday Clock is gonna be published in 12 editions by DC Comics. I recommend you read it. And the writer is Geoff Johns. Geoff Johns has done several nice things and some weird ones, but let's talk about the nice ones. He has done things about Aquaman and the Justice Society of America, my favorite, and The Flash. The artist is Gary Frank, and he has worked with Geoff Johns in several things, like Superman. They did their new Secret Origin, and with Legion of Superheroes, and Fighting Brainiac. You will find all those art in trades and stuff like that, so I recommend you take a look at them. The colors are by Brad Anderson, the letters by Rob Lee. The covers are by Gary Frank and Brad Anderson, and they put a tribute to Dave Gibbons, because Doomsday Clock, if you don't know, if you're not aware, since the beginning of the new phase of DC called DC Rebirth, they have been telling us that there is a connection between the DC universe and the Watchmen universe. And I don't know if you know, but Watchmen is one of those comic books that you have to read. And Watchmen was published in 1985 by Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons. And Alan Moore probably hates me right now because I just had his name, because he doesn't want DC to do anything with his characters. That's okay. So they have been implying a connection between the two universes, and Doomsday Clock is let's call it the spiritual sequel to Watchmen. Dave Gibbons doesn't participate on this, and Alan Moore for sure doesn't participate on this. Actually, Alan Moore doesn't want anything with this. The interesting thing, not only the cover or the covers in this case resemble some of Watchmen, because on the left side you have the black part and the letters in yellow, Doomsday Clock. The symbol is a little bit different because the symbol, the clock going to Superman. Yeah. And you have two covers. You have people screaming, the end is here, not the end is near or nigh as the original, but the end is here, and they hate the Mandias. And the other one, you have Superman disappearing in pieces of a clock or a watch, as you prefer, and you can see Dr. Manhattan behind him, and he looks that. And also, the visual structure of Watchmen is still based off, I just call it Watchmen, of Doomsday Clock is based on that thing of 9 panels, or because Dave Gibbons created that grid of 9 panels, sometimes they would be 7 or 8, making one or two bigger, but he created that grid, and Gary Frank just kept it up, and kept it up brilliantly. And okay, let's talk about the story a little, shall we? Okay, are you with your edition hands? So by the beginning of the edition, we have a new date. It's November 22nd, 1992. So it's been about 6 to 7 years since the events of Watchmen, and you have the writing just as Rorschach to write on Watchmen. So he says streets were littered with bodies, brains boiled over by grotesque nightmares of fictional invader. Clock started over. We had a chance, but they blew it. All of them. So he's really referring to Watchmen, because on Watchmen, Adrian Veidt, or Ozymandias, he created a fictional alien invader to attack New York, and then people would be, they would be together like the US and the Soviet Union, and this didn't work. That's what he says. Brains boiled over by grotesque nightmares of fictional invader, but they blew it. So basically what happened and what Rorschach is describing here, and you can see people going towards the Veidt streets. People discovered everything. Rorschach wrote on his journal about all Ozymandias' plan, and his journal was found. People analyzed it, and they discovered that it was all a plan by Ozymandias. And they invade the white industries. With that, you discover that the vice president of the United States killed the attorney general, and a lot of people are being taken hostage while the president is playing golf. Sounds like Trump, but it's 92. Russia has invaded Poland, and everything is a little bit out of control. People invade the big office of Adrian. He is not there, obviously, but you can see the spread page of the newspaper saying the great lie. In the meantime, people entered his pyramid. We can call it pyramid in the North Pole, and basically he has all those television set, While they are invading, you discover that the newspaper that reviewed this plan of Ozymandias was the first to be shut down, and the president has just shut down all the television networks. And you see BBC, CNN, they are all saying goodbye and saying it's been an honor to deliver the news to you for all those years, but now we're off. Except for one that is like, no, rise up, don't do that. Oh my God, the president, he's an asshole. Okay. And you have an X-ray, but let's ignore that right now. And then enter the NNN, the National News Network. Just for you to know, the symbol is very similar to the Nazi SS. And it's on all the channels. It's the only channel. Okay, so that's the thing. The president has just shut down all media and has just put his stuff. William F. Buckley Jr. is the host. So, okay, this sounds very possible actually. Incredibly, this still sounds possible, as did in 1985. But then we have actual action. You have the prison, and a guy is trying to escape, and then when he sees a man, he's like, oh no, forget it, I don't want to escape anymore, and it's Rorschach. And you're like, what the hell, didn't he die? Okay, and while Rorschach's walking down the prison, he opens some door while the US is already attacking Russia for invading Poland. So time is really freaking short. Rorschach goes for Erica Manson, the marionette, so they don't have a lot of time. He's like, we have to run, and he has to prove he's not the same guy, and he takes off his glove and we can see he's black. That's all we're gonna know about him. we see Rorschach convincing Marionette to go, and in exchange of the whereabouts of her son, and Marionette says she's not going without her husband, the mime. So they go after the mime, and the mime kills all the people that try to beat him up. Really creepy. Thank God doesn't say a lot of things. And as they escape in Rorschach's car, and it's funny because Marionette says, it smells like shit brown. What, do you live in here? And Rorschach's like, yes, and I can't smell through mask. This is just Rorschach like, hey, it's not my fault and it's not my problem. They enter New York as everybody is trying to escape New York because, yeah, nuclear war. And you know a thing that I missed? You don't see a lot of flying or even hovering cars because Dr. Manhattan invented, You have a man trying to take off his family, and he says about his mother-in-law, I told her not to vote for Redford. In the end of Watchmen, Robert Redford is considered for president because he was an actor and he's a nice guy. This was a joke about Ronald Reagan that was also a Hollywood actor. So Ronald Reagan, Robert Redford. So Robert Redford is the president doing all this shit. A nuclear strike is just imminent. But the Rorschach takes Marionette and the mime, and they go to Night Owl's old lab, old hideout, as we can say. And Marionette's like, oh, look at all this shit. That's the owl ship. That's Night Owl's pad, right? Where is he? Because, of course, there are a lot of rumors that, for example, Rorschach killed Night Owl and Spectre, and everybody is crazy. And then, of course, Marionette sued that Rorschach has partnered up with Night Owl. But it's not true because it's Ozymandias. Ozymandias reveals that he is working with Rorschach, and he asks their help in exchange for the whereabouts of the sun with one thing. They need to find Dr. Manhattan. That's what they say. That's what he says. That's our mission. All of us. We need to find John. Yeah, so that's the last thing we see in this universe, because then we see Clark Kent. He's sleeping, and then he sees he remembers a moment when his mother and father, Jonathan and Martha Kent, take him to the prom, and after he leaves the car, they are going back saying, oh, we should give him a brother or sister, and then they crash their car and they die. When he wakes up and he says, oh, it was a dream. It was the night my parents died, Lois. And then they say, oh my God, I can't remember the last time I had a nightmare. And you have the quote. He meets some fragment huge and stops to guess what powerful but unrecorded race owns the wealth in that unhighlighted place. Ozymandias by Horace Smith. And then we have the headline of New York Gazette, as we know, the first newspaper to go down, because the president put so, about what White did. Okay, we have to put it like this. Geoff Johns does a good job. And it's funny when you have like the mime and the marionette in the comic page, but he doesn't really copy Alan Moore. He takes the way of it, you know? I don't know if I'm being clear, but he doesn't imitate. He doesn't say, oh, I'm gonna be the new Alan Moore. He doesn't do that, yeah? So it's really nice. And Gary Frank really takes a little from Dave Gibbons, but it's dirty, you know? His art is a little more dirty, and that's nice. It's nice that you have this kind of dirty composition, you know? It's really nice. But about the story, a lot of people were like, oh my God, Superman's parents didn't die the way it was scripted. And yeah, but if you've been reading DC the last year, you know that Dr. Manhattan has been screwing up the DC universe. So it's very possible that he's screwing this up, that he's changing that. It's very, very logical, actually. So maybe that's why Superman's going to take a talk with him, you know? Maybe that's why he's gonna say, wait a minute. Yeah, it's very, very logical. I love it, the edition. And I love it, the fact that it's not a thing like, hey, let's show what happened to all the Watchmen characters. Let's show what happened to Night Owl and Silk Spectre, and because they don't show, you know, and it's okay, and it's really nice they don't show. It's even healthy. So Doomsday Clock #1, we have Ozymandias, Rorschach, Marionette, and the Mime saying we have to find Dr. Manhattan because US and the Soviet Union are going to fight, and it's gonna be ugly. No, they're going to nuclearly fight, and at the same time you have Superman. So it's funny, it could be just like Watchmen 2, but you have Superman in the mix, and that makes everything much, much more. Then it would already be being a sequel to Watch. So tell me what you think. These are my thoughts, but I may be wrong, you know. And so every time we have an edition of Doomsday Clock, we're gonna have an edition of Doomsday Watch. Okay, just comment and subscribe to Zero Plus so we can create more for you. Okay, so check your watch. It's 10 to Superman. It's 10 to Superman.